Well, good morning, Freedom Wranglers, or good afternoon, wherever you're at listening to us. We are so excited today because we have a really special guest. And Jamie, this is a wonderful woman of God that you have met. And I want to let you introduce her. I'm just so excited about today.
Yes, we have a very precious guest on the show today. Her name is Sherry Ann. And I'm going to say how I met her. I met her at O'Neill Church of God, and she was a special singer and guest there. And she shared her testimony. And I love how she speaks and what how the Lord has been using her. She speaks with authority, but also she has this kind of comical side to her. And I'm going to be completely honest, she reminds me of Carmen, okay?
She's a female Carmen. Whoa.
She is a female Carmen, and I just fell head over heels for her. But anyway, this is kind of her bio. I'm just going to go ahead and show, this is what was on her platform that she uses on Instagram and also TikTok. So she's a Billboard charting singer. She's a songwriter. She's a speaker, very good one, and author and doctor and a servant of God. Now, it doesn't get any better than that, Sherry.
No.
I mean, it really doesn't. I mean, you got everything on your plate.
It's just a beautiful package that you're like, come on, let's go. That's so exciting.
Very inspirational. On top of that, you do have hearing loss.
Right.
And that's something that you're going to share with us. And how inspirational is that you've done all these things, but it didn't hold you back, Sherry Ann. So, I'm going to pass the mic over to you to share your heart and how it all started for you and the beginnings and how you ended up here. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I can live up to all this wonderful introduction, ladies. Thank you very much. And
of course.
It is always a joy to share what the Lord has done. And as you were introducing me, automatically the Lord already took me to Galatians 5. Just as you were saying, the name of the program is Freedom Wranglers. And I couldn't help but to come up with Galatians 5, verse 1. It says, "Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage." And your title, Freedom Wranglers, I imagine, I don't know a lot about that title, how you came about it, but to me, I hear, searching for freedom, grabbing for freedom, getting a hold of freedom. And that's what God had to do for me, was to get a hold of me and set me free from me. See, a lot of people have to be set free from drugs or alcohol, pornography. And I think all of us have different strongholds, but a lot of us we don't fully acknowledge or realize the stronghold of pride. We don't acknowledge fully or realize the stronghold of maybe self-deprecation. In other words, what we do to ourselves. And a lot of times pride can be rooted and often is rooted in a total lack of confidence in who you are. So you build yourself up because you have a great insecurity.
Yes.
And that's what happened to me. So Jamie already alluded to the fact that all of these accomplishments in spite of or with a hearing loss. But that hearing loss created a lot of insecurity for me for a lot of reasons. First of all, the way that I speak is different. And if you can't hear, it's hard to pronounce and speak things when you can't really hear. And that's what happened to me as a little 5-year-old. Off to school I went. But I wasn't like all the other little 5-year-olds. In school, very early on, I mean, this is kindergarten we're talking about. And very early on, I was failing out of kindergarten. I mean, you could only get 3 grades in kindergarten. You can get like an O for outstanding, an S for satisfactory, and a U for unsatisfactory. And I had all U's. It was very unsatisfactory. My behavior, my learning ability was not good. And I came from a very broken home, a very bad domestic situation. And because of that, they just labeled me as a problem child. It must be the function. It must be the home life. I was disciplined. I was scolded. I was put in a corner for not listening, not paying attention. I was bullied and mocked for the way that I spoke, the way that I acted, the way that I reacted or misacted. Thank God the school nurse conducted a physical and found out that I was severely and profoundly hearing impaired. So all of those behaviors were because I couldn't hear. And, but already the way that I was treated just damaged my self-esteem right then and there. From that time of 5 years old, right there, right in that moment, I never felt good enough. I never felt like I measured up. I never felt like I could amount to anything because, I mean, when you're put in a corner because you're not listening or you're not paying attention and you can't hear, like, what does that do to you? It's painful. Like, even to this day, I remember that. You don't forget that. But, God stepped in eventually. He's always been there, I came to find out, because how I was getting along so far was that I was lip reading. He had given me that gift at an early age to lip read. And so that's how I was surviving. And that's how people didn't know that I was hearing impaired. Because when you looked at me, I heard you and I responded appropriately. But if you didn't look at me and you turned your head away, I couldn't hear you at all. And so it was kind of very hard to figure out what was exactly going on with me. So once the test revealed this, I got a hearing aid. And guess what? My grades improved. They went to S for satisfactory. Then after that, they gave me a second hearing aid. They said, gee, she did so great with one. Let's try another one. So they gave me my second hearing aid and my grades went to O for outstanding. And so, but here's the thing. This was now I began to achieve. I began to become outstanding. And I began to really like how it felt when I was outstanding. And no longer did I just want to be as good as all my other classmates. I wanted to be better than all of my classmates.
You had something to prove.
I had something to prove, and I was out to do it. And so it became what I didn't realize until later on, my own addiction. Right? So we know about substance abuse, and that's something that I grew up around. But then I too became very addicted to what they call man's applause and accolades and praise. Look at me, right? So for the next 12 years of my academic career, that's exactly what I set out to do. I had trophies, I had tiaras, I had sashes, I had scholarships, I had awards, I had accolades, top student, teacher's pet, you name it. In fact, I ended up graduating high school 1 year early because I was so accelerated and just kept adding to my courses. And I ended up having so many credits by the time I was a junior that I ended up I got into college right into my senior year. It's something called the Bridge Program. I did not have to do my senior year in high school. I ended up doing my senior year in college because I had already completed all of my credits by my junior year. Wow. And so I got out of school 1 year early and started college at 17 years old. And actually had scholarships to go to college, and I had 4 years of college completely paid for. And so now what do? You've done 4 years of college and you decide to get your doctorate degree because let's just go to the top. I mean, why stop with the bachelor's?
This is like Overachievers Anonymous here. Like,
totally. Like, wow. I'm like poster child. Yeah. It wasn't enough to have it. I got an associate, then I got a bachelor's. And so we'll just skip the master's and we'll go right for the doctorate degree. And that's what we did. So I ended up becoming, and I ended up getting I got a minor and a major, and I ended up going to summer school so that I could get a minor and a major. And so I had a doctorate degree by 24.
Holy moly. Wow.
24 years old, I was a doctor. Oh. Just all I knew in life, I didn't date, I didn't have relationships, I just knew work. And I knew school, and I knew the harder I worked, the better I did, and the more praise I got. And it just kept driving me and driving me and driving me. Yeah. And couple that with the fact that I grew up in a religious institution that rewarded you for good works. the more good things you did, the more saintly you were. And there is a truth to the fact that as we come to know Christ, we do good things for his glory, not ours.
Yes.
You know?
Amen, sister.
Right? So I was doing all these things to kind of look at me and look what I've done. And, the Bible says that pride comes before a fall. So here I am, 24 years old, a doctor, and by 25, I want out. I want to end it all. There is no more reason for me to live because I had accomplished all of this with no breaks, summer school to get the extra degree, just go, 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 no relationship, social life is nil. It was just all about me and my world and what I could accomplish and what I could do. And I got to the top of that scholastically, my doctorate degree. And now what? There was nowhere else to go but down. And I was about to fall really quickly because I had done all of this. And guess what? It didn't heal the pain that I experienced when I was 5 years old. It didn't heal the pain of feeling like I wasn't good enough. It didn't heal the pain of feeling like I wasn't worthy enough or that I could never measure up. I had achieved the pinnacle of academic success, and it did nothing for me. Nothing. And I just crashed and burned. And I just burnt out, 24 years old, 9 years of, post-graduate work. In other words, after high school, 9 more years. It didn't do anything for me. It drove me into what some people call a nervous breakdown, right? Because now what? Where do I go from here? Because my whole identity was in what I could achieve, and I've achieved the top, so now what? So I crashed and burned. I got to a complete broken point. And what precipitated that to the max was when I was in graduate school, I did have one serious relationship. And let me tell you, if you've never taken the time to develop relationships or you haven't been brought up in a home with healthy relationships, you don't know how to have a healthy relationship. And so that relationship was based on works, and it was based on what you could do and how well you could perform. And, I was like a teacher grading papers, And that's not what that was going to make a healthy relationship. That's not what the other person is looking for, is you to grade their performance, right?
Right.
That's all I knew. So
to a relationship broken, right? We both are broken when we come into a relationship. So we're just basket cases anyway. So when you get to there and you're trying to critique each other, it's like,
yeah,
you ain't doing that right.
Because rather than look at what I'm doing, I'd rather look at what you're doing. And I think there's a scripture in the Bible about that. Right? I mean, you want to, before you start looking at what's in somebody else's eye, look at what's in your own eye. And so when that relationship failed, I was kind of beside myself because what do you mean I failed at something? How could I fail at something? I have top performance here. You don't have good performance, Oh.
Wow.
You're like, I graduated high school early. Like, how can I fail? I graduated early. I can't fail at this. This is easy, right?
Come on, who we're dealing with here. Oh, Lord. And so when that failed, it was a dagger to my heart because that was a direct reflection of my performance. I must have failed if I couldn't, make everybody the way I wanted them. Yeah. So, and thank God I couldn't. But, that was a dagger to my heart because for the first time I failed at something and I didn't know how to take that. When your worth is based on how well you perform and you're not performing well enough, and you can't hold a relationship together, wow, you must, I really began to think that I was an awful person and that if I couldn't receive this person's love, now here's how I concluded this, the smart brainiac that I am. If I couldn't receive this person's love, if this relationship was going to end, well, then I must be unlovable. Because how could you not love me? And
perfect.
I mean, that's what it was. I'm perfect, you know. Oh Lord, you know, forgive me, you know. And so it just devastated me because it was just a shot to my ego. It was a shot to my heart, and it just dropped me. I mean,
Yes.
what it took to drop me.
And it felt, I'm sure it felt like rejection too, right? Like a
That's what it
rejection,
was.
like you did when you were a child. So, because relationships are so subjective, like you were just saying, and they're subjective. They just kind of, they move and wobble, and so it was kind of like, from what I'm understanding, it's kind of like you reverted back to when you was a child, that rejection and not being understood. You know what I'm saying?
You hit the nail on the head. I mean, that is the target. That's what happened. It took me back to 5 years old. That nobody loves me. I'm not good enough. I don't measure up. And I was like, I did all this and was still right back there again. And that's what we were. I was a little 5-year-old kid. And I had my tantrum, let me tell you. I went to the floor. I fell flat on my face on the floor. And I began to scream out to this God of religion, this God I knew who was there, but was afar off. And you only got to him by performing certain rituals and certain things that the church told me I had to perform. Rules and regulations, stand, sit, kneel, bow. I did all of that to perfection, and so that God to me was just, look, I did all this. I did all this for you, and I did it all perfectly, and I kept all the ordinances of the church. And so why is this happening? Where are you? What kind of God are you? And you know what? Here was the worst part about it. I had heard this rumor that God is love, right? That's what I heard. It's not a rumor. It's a statement in the Bible. And I heard God is love all my life. Well, you know what? I didn't see it. I didn't see it growing up. I didn't see it in school. And I didn't see it in my relationship, mainly because I didn't know how to give it. Now, this person did have a good grasp on love, but I didn't. So not only could I not give it, I couldn't receive it. And so that was hard too, is not being able to receive love that somebody's trying to give you. And so I said, God, they say that you're love. Well, I don't see love. So if I don't see love, then guess what? I don't see you. And if I don't see you, then what is the point of all this? Because I've done it all and it didn't work. It doesn't work. Nothing works. So why do I have to be here? I don't. And that's when I said, I won't. And I had an actual plan. And it was right in that moment that plan was formulated. And I just said, you know what? If you are real, because I had heard about him my whole life. If you are real, if you're really there, then this hearing impaired girl needs to hear from you right now, or it's over. Because there's no reason.
Yeah.
And thank God in his mercy, in that exact moment, I saw the most magnificent vision that I have ever seen. I saw the crown of thorns on his head. And his head was bowed down, and I saw the blood trickling down his face. I saw the outstretched arms nailed to the cross. And I saw him lift up his head and say, I died for you so that you could live for me. And that was so earth-shattering to me, because all this time in that moment, I just kind of shrieked. And I jumped to my knees. I got off my face and I jumped to my knees. And I said, God, I am so sorry. I am so sorry for what I have made this. I have made this about me, what I've done and who I am. And you know what? It isn't about that. It's about who he is and what he's done for us, because the Bible says that none of us are good enough. None of us will measure up. And you say, my gosh, where's the good news in that? Well, I'm not good enough. I won't measure up. Here's the truth. You won't. Because if I didn't, trust me, you won't. Because none of us are perfect. In that, what did I do wrong? Pride. I had the sin of pride, thinking I was better than everybody else, thinking I didn't need anybody else, making myself my own God. That's a violation of the first commandment. Thou shalt have no other God besides me. I was my own God. That's what's wrong with what I did. That's pride. And I don't know about you girls, but I've read the Bible through and through, and I'm sure you have too. And I see pride listed more than any other sin. So I did that the best too.
It's pride and fear, right? It's pride and fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, the biggest sin of all. Oh Lord, have mercy on me. And he did. He did. In that moment, I realized, okay, so I'm not going to measure up. I'm not going to be good enough. Okay, so where's the freedom in this? He died to pay that price for me. I can't pay it. The Bible says when you sin, the penalty is death. Okay, I was going to die. But you know what? That's not going to work because the Bible said there had to be a perfect sacrifice to pay that price. That's what the Bible said.
Right.
I'm not perfect. I now have the sin of pride. So, but there's one who is perfect. It's Jesus Christ. It's the Son of the living God.
Yes.
And he said, I will pay that price for you. No man takes my life. I lay it down for my friends.
Yeah.
And when you realize that he laid his life down for you, paid the price for you, how can you not jump up and have such like joy? I said, oh my God, thank you for what you have done for me. In that moment, you have such gratitude because you finally realize it's not about you. It never has been. And there's a freedom in that. That now I don't have to do all these things to get your love, God. I can do all the good things I do because I have your love, God. And let me show you how much I love you by the life I live for you. And so now this is my mission. This is my message. Live for him, to bring others to him. Only he can set people free. It's not you.
Yeah.
Not you. Not me. That's for sure. Not me.
There's so many people that are in this world today that they don't have a physical hearing impairment, but they have a spirit impairment. And they don't understand that he truly loves them. Yeah. They've got their ears completely blocked up and their hearts have become hardened because of various different things. And it's so interesting, as I'm listening to you talk about this, it's like those things are dropping into my spirit of how we all have a disability.
Yes.
And the disability is sin. And that is the thing that plugs our ears and stops us from hearing and receiving what God has for us, what Jesus did, like you're talking about.
That is such a beautiful point. And I am so grateful that that is the message you were able to convey to the listeners from what I said, because that is the truth. We're all maimed. We're all lame, but he comes to heal us. And my pastor's been talking a lot about the healings of Jesus and how the people thronged Jesus from every side to be healed of their physical disability. And there were times when Jesus didn't heal everybody. He went up to the mountain to pray. It says he couldn't heal anybody that day. It wasn't, if he wanted to, he would have and he could have. But it wasn't all about that. It wasn't only about that. He said he came to preach the kingdom of God. He came to save the lost. He wants to heal our soul. The Apostle Paul says, I pray that you would prosper and be in health as your soul prospers. And I've come to realize, people pray for me all the time, and that's fine, thank you. And people always say your healing can be healed. Okay, fine, but I don't care about that. I want my heart to be healed because that was crippling me more than my hearing has ever crippled me.
Yeah, absolutely. My son has muscular dystrophy. So that whole thing that I completely understand that because, the world puts limitations on people because of physical things.
Yes.
But God frees us spiritually to do anything and everything for him. And like you said, there are going to be some people that they're going to experience healing, but other people do not. But it's how do you walk out your freedom in Christ and knowing who you are, regardless of the physical.
Yes, because spiritual healing is for everybody.
Come on.
Everybody.
Yes. And
that's what Christ came for. Now, he did the physical healing so that they would believe and receive. That's why he did the physical healing, so that they would believe and receive. But what he came to do was to set us free. That's why I love the name of what you have here.
well, and it's, I didn't say anything earlier, but that is our verse. It is Galatians 5.
Yeah, isn't that awesome?
That's the foundation verse for Freedom Wranglers. When God gave us the name, that is exactly what it's all based on, is helping people understand the freedom that they can have in Christ.
Yeah.
Without him, there's no true freedom. There's nothing, So, but Jamie and I are both singers, and I'm sure that she's mentioned that too. We both
didn't.
No, I didn't. I hadn't. I was too busy being entertained by my friends.
I love it. Well, we knew each other, found each other through Christian t-shirts. That's really how our friendship
High school.
Yeah. And then we were in choir together all throughout our high school career. And then we have both, I lead worship with my husband at our church. And I know Jamie has been a part of choirs and, led specials in song and all kinds of stuff. And so having the opportunity to have this conversation with you, but understanding how important our hearing is.
Yeah.
Singing is so special. What a gift God has given you to be, because a lot of people can't do that. So I would love to hear, how did that develop? How he's used you. I mean, the Gaithers, come on. Anybody who's been around long enough, I know that my parents and, grandparents love the Gaithers, but I love the Gaithers because their songs are timeless. They are timeless.
Right.
I mean, we could name so many. When you start naming songs and people go, "Oh, that was the Gaithers," and you're like, "Do you know how many songs they've written?
And how many people they catapulted in the gospel industry?"
Yes. So many people. So share with us, how did that develop? How did you recognize you had a gift vocally? And how does that all work with your hearing?
It's interesting because my family is quite musical. On my mother's side of the family, there's a number of singers and there's incredible musicians who they play for the Tonight Show and all different things. And so music runs in my blood. It runs in my family. My father is a ballroom dance teacher. My mother is a ballroom dance teacher. That's how they met. And so I grew up with music underneath me all my life. So here you have this hearing impaired girl who's hearing pounding music, or at least feeling the beat through the floor, because the basement was underneath the house, and you feel the beat and you hear the music all day, all night, because they taught in the basement of the house. And so at that time it was the 70s, so it was disco music. So I grew up with a lot of disco, but they come out of the Elvis generation. They came out of that generation. So there was a lot of Elvis. There was disco. My dad loves country. So I really had a really wide base of musical influences. And then I grew up as an adolescent through the 80s. So then you had the pop music. And so then I had that influence and did the little pop thing for a while there. So I loved music. I'd say it's in my genetics, but it was also, in my environment. And so when I go to school and they have choir, of course I sing and I'm in band. I played the clarinet. And then I would get picked for small county and I would get picked for solos. And I got thinking about that later in life because I kind of forgot about that even as a hearing impaired kid with all those struggles, I was picked for solos and I was picked for small county and all county. And that kind of surprises me now that there was some foundation even then for what I do. And so I always sang, and then I got very involved in theater. I love theater. Maybe that's where Jamie talked about the Carmen influence. I love videos. Yeah. I love theater. I love acting. It's funny, I didn't know much about Carmen. She mentioned him, but my mom, when we came to know the Lord, but we had left that more liturgical church and got into a full gospel church, Carmen was big at that time, right at that moment.
Oh, I love him.
I saw him in concert. What did you say?
Us too.
I love him. Yeah.
And I remember laughing because I loved pop music at that time. And Carmen was doing something very new at the time. He was taking Christian music and putting it to a pop beat. And this is the pop era. It was the 80s, so a lot of his songs had a pop sound to them. So I remember having that influence a little bit too. And so we got into this full gospel church, and a woman there, this was all new to us, this kind of church. And so a woman there was very big into the Gaithers, and she introduced me to them. And at that time, coming from a secular music background, I was kind of like, this is real music over here, because I didn't really know like Southern gospel. I didn't know that. I knew mainstream music. And the church I went to, you couldn't sing in choir. There was none of that. So now you can sing in church, you can sing in choir. So what am I going to sing? I can't sing the secular stuff. So the first solo I ever did was a crossover. It was at El Shaddai by Amy Grant.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then I got introduced to Gaither music from there. And eventually I took the time I wouldn't listen to the music when it was presented to me, but I'm a lip reader. So when they had videos, somebody presented me a video, put the video in, and I could read the lips, I could understand the lyrics. And what happened was there was a man giving a personal testimony. That man, now remember, I'm coming right out of liturgical church, so I don't know anything about a personal testimony. I'm brand new in this kind of church. And that man had sung for Elvis. He had done some backup work for Elvis. Now, I grew up with Elvis, so this got my attention.
Yeah.
I watched. And I listened, and he began to cry and he began to weep as he talked about how God delivered him from substance and different things like that. And I began to cry and I began to weep. And it was in that moment that I realized the power of a personal testimony. We didn't give that in my church. So I thought, so I love music. I see the power of a personal testimony. I watched the rest of that video, and I see that that's what Gaither does. He does music and testimony through song. So now this birthed in me what I'm to do with my life. I mean, right then and there, it became clear to me, I need to take testimony, I need to take music, and I need to put them together. And Jamie, thank you for acknowledging that that's exactly what you felt that I did.
Yes.
So, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because that is kind of the path that I took.
Yes, very, very powerful. Very powerful. And I think it's so cool that not only does she know the Gaithers, I mean, she knows the Judds. She knows, oh my goodness, the country rock.
Oakwood Boys.
The Oak Ridge Boys. I can't even say it. I mean, you came in contact with all these people, and they're just everyday people, aren't they? They're just like you and me, And what was that like singing with them?
It took a while for me to see that, because, as a little hearing impaired person, I would just always thought people were better than me. So I put a lot of people on a pedestal, and it took a while for me to see, they're just ordinary people and they need our prayers, and we shouldn't put any man or woman, I don't care. And I'm going to go there. I'm going to say, not in politics, not in religion, not in a job, not in nowhere do we put a man or a woman on a pedestal. It's nothing but the name of Jesus Christ. He says, if you lift my name up, I will draw all men unto me, because he'll never hurt them. He'll never fail them. He'll never let them down. But we will every time. And so, but they are the great influences in our lives, and people like Billy Graham. I began to see how he could deliver a sermon, and you were going to know by the time his sermon was over who Jesus Christ was. And so that was the foundation for a song that I wrote. Who do you say I am? I wanted to write a song that asked the question, who is Jesus Christ? Because Jesus asked that question in Matthew 16. Who do men say that I am? So I think it's probably an important question.
Yeah, very important.
So these influences, so I became empowered to share the gospel through influences like Billy Graham, through the music vehicle of the Gaithers. And I have to say, yes, Shonda, I want to know how to pronounce your name. Is it Shonda?
It's actually Chanda.
Chanda.
Yes.
Am I saying it right?
You are, yes. Yep.
I'm a person, I never know how to say like a CH.
It's okay.
I want to learn.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. We pronounce it Chanda as if it's spelt with an O in the middle.
Okay, Chanda.
Yes, it's Hindu. My mom and dad they were hippies, and they practiced Hinduism for a period of time. And when I was born, they named me after a Hindu goddess. So,
wow. That's incredible. but God redeems all things. And
He
now
does.
you're doing a podcast for his glory.
Exactly, exactly. And my parents ended up returning to Christ and becoming pastors. And, there were a lot of people that were like, you need to change her name because of the meaning, because it means moon. And I said, yeah, but the moon reflects the sun. And so I can reflect Christ and everything.
Oh, I just got chills.
Yeah.
And
Isn't
who
that
set the
cool?
moon in the sky? The Lord set the moon in the sky.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. We don't worship it, but you know what? It gives us a great reflection of the sun. So yeah, it's pronounced Chanda. Yeah.
Well, I thank you for asking about that influence question and the musical, because yeah, they were an influence to me. And I would, so once that first video, I heard that, I then found out that there was about 100 more videos. And so I began to collect them and I began to watch them fervently and study and learn. I didn't know this music. I didn't know Christian music. I only knew secular music. That's the amazing thing. So I had to learn a library of Christian music.
Oh,
and thank God for them, I did. And then after studying them so much and learning this music, guess who says, I want to sing with them?
That happened.
Yes.
But God knows the desires of our heart. He puts them there to glorify him. And it took probably, 15 years or maybe longer. But in 2017, I got to stand on the stage with them for the first time. And I've been doing it here and there ever since that time. And I just give God all the praise and all the glory for hearing and answering the desire of my heart.
Yeah. So were you a part of, how they do the Gaither Sings? Was it something like that? Yeah.
So what happened was the first appearance I made was a concert, Bill Gaither concert, live concert. So I did that. And then the next few of them were all Bill Gaither vocal band concerts. He was just doing, the homecoming tours were not happening at this time. Just a few here and there. Mostly they were Gaither vocal band concerts. So all of my events were vocal band concerts. And then there's my favorite event of all is Family Fest in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And they have 7,000 people there. And I was going to that for about 10 years. And I just had this desire more than anything to be on that stage, because on that stage, it was very similar to a homecoming taping. There was testimony, there was teaching, there was music, there was worship. And I thought, this reminds me the most of a video. And I prayed and prayed and prayed, and I didn't know how to have that happen. But the last time I was there in 2018, I remember walking up to the stage. I was in the front row. Some artist friends of mine had given me those tickets. And I don't do this often because I don't want to, God is not a candy machine, and I don't want to just, put in a request and make him, pop the candy out. That's not the way God works. But I decided to take a step of faith because it had been maybe 20 years of their influence. And I decided I just walked up to that stage and I just laid my hand on that stage and I said, Lord, if it would be your will and if it would be possible, if you could make this possible. And I surrendered it to him. It's a different kind of prayer than name it and claim it. No, I believed it and received it if that was his will for me. That's right. And so I put my hand there and I just said, Lord, if this could be your will, I just lift this up to you. And shortly after that, I got an email inviting me to partake of Family Fest. Wow. So I give God all the glory for that. And then I went back and did it again. And then last year, they did a taping. They don't do a lot of homecoming tapings anymore. Yeah. And they did one in Hershey, Pennsylvania, which is not too far from me in New York. Ooh. And I was in Florida at the time, and I had a concert the night before, but I finagled a flight and driving so many hours, and I got myself to Hershey, Pennsylvania. And I was on the last taping in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It was a 2-day event. That taping should come out next year. Okay. So 24 should come out.
Wow. 25. We're going to look for that one.
Yes.
It's
an answer to prayer also to actually be on a taping.
That's so cool. And it's funny you said that because with choir, prior to Jamie and I singing together in middle school, we went to Hershey, Pennsylvania for do the Hershey Park, and they actually have choir competitions there. So we went for that. And I had the honor. It's the only award I've ever won. So unlike you, Sherry, I'm not as awarded. But I had the opportunity of being the soloist for our choir, and I did. I won the overall soloist award that season. So when you say Hershey Park, I'm like, oh, those are good memories, you know,
Good
in the closet somewhere. But, you know, there was this one time.
Well, let me say, I love that you said that because I want to let you know that there was a time in my life a few years back, actually, when I started going to that new church, it was right then and there. I went in my closet. I got all my trophies. I had a lot of trophies. I got my sashes, I got my tiaras, and not because I'm ungrateful. I'm grateful for what the Lord has done in my life. And I got rid of them. So I don't have anything. The only thing I have, and it's only because I use it as a prop, I do some theater stuff. I have a bronze medal that my team, not me, but my team won in the Empire State Games in New York. So it was a figure skating team, precision. And we got a bronze. And so I kept that because I use it as a prop when I talk and do this testimony sometimes. And I have a fake tiara that I use for the prop, for the demonstration. But I got rid of them all. And, you know, it's funny, I say that, and I should draw attention to the fact that there's a Billboard award behind me, but it's not an award. I made a video, Sherry Ann Live, and I gave my testimony in that video, what we just heard, and I did a concert live. And that video, charted on Billboard. That was significant to me for one reason, being hearing impaired. I mean, it's just the fact that I was hearing impaired and that I grew up with secular music. I used to look at charts. I used to listen to Casey Kasem Top 40 Countdown. Yeah. To think, this to me shows the glory of God, to think that a hearing impaired person could land on Billboard. It was for my music video. It was for the DVD. And people can watch that. They can order it through my website and watch it. But that, Alan Jackson was in the first position, a country artist.
Oh, love
him.
David Phelps, I think, was number 2 or 3. It was all Gaither artists. And then there was Sherry Ann at number 5.
That's so cool.
And I framed that because to me, it doesn't show me at all. To me, that shows the glory of God.
The glory of God.
That's what it shows to me.
Yeah, how he was being lifted high through your testimony.
Mm-hmm.
It might be your name, but really it's Jesus.
It's like in our weakness, he is strong.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, Sherry, and I can relate to you so much with your testimony when you was a young girl. I had struggled with my speech because I had a lot of ear infections as a child. Oh. So I had a first grade teacher that didn't understand that I was always in trouble, but she couldn't understand me because, you know, I couldn't understand her because I always getting ear infections, and it affected my speech. I had to go through speech therapy, and I would say my R's really weird, like I couldn't say bird, I would say bud. Like I had so much trouble, and so, but my dad saw me underneath the table when I was a little girl, underneath the kitchen table, and I was just hiding because I didn't want to go to school. You know, and that's when my dad was like, I need to figure out what's going on with my daughter. And so I went to the doctors, and it turned out that I was having ear infections and it was scarring. And so it was something that I had struggled with as a child, like you were saying, and I can identify with what you went through because it made me feel like I wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
And like nobody understands me.
Yes.
And I was very young. And so I struggled, and I still to this day, because I do sing, I still to this day and speak, I'm very critical sometimes about how I talk and how I do sing, because I'm very sensitive to the way I sound. And I know that goes back to my childhood. You know, but again, I can totally identify with what you went through, but mine was more kind of an allergy issue. I had some terrible allergies that caused my eardrums to, I just had some trouble, but I understand what you went through, and it's amazing how the Lord was even able to help me and overcome certain things in my life that I struggle with my insecurities in that way. But it's interesting because me and you do have something else in common.
What's that?
You taught aerobics.
Yeah, I did. So my doctorate degree was in chiropractic.
Yeah.
And so for 21 years, I was a chiropractor, singing on the side on weekends when I could. And then I went full time I retired in 2019. So I went full time in 2020. And who remembers what happened in 2020 in our environment and our world? COVID. So I got shut down for a number of months, a year. But I was a chiropractor for 21 years. Along with that, I was a fitness trainer and eventually went on to become certified in Zumba because my parents were both ballroom dance teachers. So
That's
I
so
kind of
cool.
made that work for a little while and then just couldn't juggle everything. And then I was getting out of practice and moving more towards the full-time ministry of which I am now. So I don't do that anymore. But yeah, I did that for a few years.
I thought that was so neat. I was like, oh my gosh, not only did she do all this, but she also was teaching aerobics. So it's like we have that commonality of what happened to you as a child, and then also being an aerobics instructor, which I've been in dance all my life as well. I was on the dance team, drill team. And then when I got in high school, I did more, I did rowing. I was on the rowing sport, but I was always that little girl in my house with my mom and dad, my mom and my sister. And I would say, come on, let's go to the basement. Let's go work out. And I would put on some music and we would dance and you'll see me. I'm always like Chanda knows, I'm always wanting to be in the middle of the dance floor.
The party animal.
Well, I have to say, Jamie, what a testimony, because one of the things I noticed about you was how well and beautiful you speak, and you too. I noticed that about people. To this day, I admire how well they speak. And so for you to say that, Jamie, is surprising because I thought you spoke very well and so clear and so nicely. And I did 7 years of speech therapy, and I know about the R. That to this day is my hardest sound to say is R. And my mother named me Sherry.
Of course.
Like, really?
She's the challenge, right? The total challenge.
She tells me she was gonna name me Melody. I'm like, oh,
Oh, stop. She was going to name you Melody. That's like, wow.
yeah, Melody. So
Wow.
the Lord knows He gives us that intuition, doesn't He?
Yes, he does.
He sure does. And so, I mean, you have like, I mean, you're not, I don't like, we don't like to talk about our age as ladies, but you're not much older than Jamie and I. We're in our late 40s. We're 47. And so I'm listening to all of the things that you have had a very full life, my friend.
Thank the Lord. And I'll say it because I put it out on social media. For a long time, people thought I was much younger than I am, and I appreciate that. Good, healthy, clean living.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hit the milestone birthday this year. I am 50, so 50, and it's hard to believe it.
You're the new 50. Like you're that new 50 they keep talking about. Like we're the 50 that we are is not what our parents were, and I love my mother, but it's just very different now for us. We have a lot more.
Look at singers back in the day when they were 30. We thought they were 50 or 60,
That's right.
Yes.
So this is 50 is the new 30. And my niece, I don't have any children. I'm not married. But because the Lord is the love of my life. But my niece and nephews are everything. And I have two that I see more often. And she is now 12. I have two children's books. How Are Ya, Arya, and Quiet Wyatt is a Riot, named after my precious niece Arya, my nephew Wyatt.
Oh, how cool.
They lost their mom to cancer when they were just 6 and 7. So I wrote these books as an encouragement to make them have joy. And, so we did these rhyming books, and I love them so dearly. And they have a lot of school functions now because now they're 12 and 13. So I go and it's great because I don't have children. They lost their mom. And people say how awful all of these things are. People can whine and pine about not having children, or they can whine and pine about the things that happen in their lives. And there's a place for grieving. The Lord grieves, the Lord grieves. There's a place for it. But we also have to look at the redemption. We have to look at how God works all things for good for those who love Him and are called according to His purpose. And so I see that my role is to step in and to help out with these children where I can. They bless me in return. And so I go to their school functions and they all think her aunt, Arya's aunt, is the coolest thing. But they're like, what is she like? 27, 30. And I was like, my aunt is 50. And they fall over.
You're like, she's not. And you're like, yes, I am. I'm 27. That's right.
Right. And they're like, there's no way. And you know how kids are. There's no way that, fake news. She's not 50. She's 50. Thank God. Thank God I lived to see it.
Right. So you've mentioned tiaras and sashes. So I'm going to take it that you were in beauty competitions, some type of pageant.
I did, yeah. So I could tell you a funny story about that. I did a few of them, a handful. I did not like them at all. So I remember in what year was it? My sophomore year, because I got out my junior year. I did drama and I did music. And it just seemed like the natural thing to flow would be like modeling, but not. There was a lot. And where I grew up, there was actually a modeling agency that was pretty prominent. And there's a pageant that they hold every year for the whole city, which is a decent sized city, maybe 60,000 people. And it's a big pageant. There's a little notoriety that comes with winning this pageant, Miss Greater Utica, and everybody who's anybody does it. And that was the first pageant I ever did because it was, like I said, it was like the thing to do for girls in my town and everybody did it. So to do it, I enrolled in beauty school and charm school. That's my
Charm
first
school. I still have it. Did you put books on your head? I need to know.
I think we actually did do that at one point, and it was lovely. Can I tell you, I really wish girls would take charm school. I think that's one of my more favorite things that I ever did because it taught you, and people may not like this in today's society, but I love it. It taught you how to sit. It taught you how to stand. It taught you how to posture. And I'm a chiropractor too, so I got that from a lot of places. But like how to present, how to, if I can say this, how to have dignity, how to have class, how to dress, if I can even say that. Remember, we're young girls, so teaching young girls that thing, I don't think that's a bad thing. You're teaching young girls how to cross their legs because they're wearing skirts. You ever watch a high school performance and look at these girls with the skirts? They don't know to cross their legs when they're up on the band stage, Right. It's just, they don't have to cross their legs, but like close your legs or cross your ankles or something because you have a skirt on. So it's things like that like my precious niece, I watch, she didn't have a mom and she didn't go to charm school. So it's things like that, teaching girls how to be girls. Can I say that?
Yeah. Please. We're all about being who God created us to be. If you were talking about, He created you to be feminine.
Yes. Yeah. And that's the series we're actually doing this month, Sherry Ann, is on women. We're doing like the women in the Bible. So we find it very important, and I think that's all a part and parcel with Freedom Wranglers, is us being mature women and educating our younger women on how they should present themselves and the people in the Bible, the women in the Bible, and the roles that they had and how God still uses them. And so I think that's interesting that you brought up charm school because, we as women, the elder women are supposed to teach the younger. Yeah. We're supposed to pass the torch to them for understanding. And I think there is a lack of education, if you will, of femininity. I think it's so distorted in this day and age we're living in.
Yes. And so I really enjoyed that. And there is a woman it pops up on social media. And I say this because I think it's so important for all generations and all cultures. She's an African-American woman. And she had this beauty school, and all of her students are little African-American girls. And she's doing like what I remember in charm school. It is the cutest thing. She's teaching them how to fold a napkin and how to pick which fork to use for their salad. And they're like 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. And it's just so precious. And she's gone viral. And I love it. And I watch her from time to time because it's so precious. And so it's just decorum. It's just, a little bit of decorum and a little bit of class and etiquette. And these are lost arts. It's an art, and it's a lost art.
That's exactly what I was going to say. It's a lost art. We don't have that today. And it's funny because recently we went to Japan, my family, and I noticed that women in Japan, they all wear dresses. Every now and again, you would see one in a pair of pants or trousers because my husband's from the UK. So, and it was fine, but femininity as well as modesty is a real big thing in that culture. And it caused me to have this desire to where I came back, and I don't know how many dresses I've bought, but like I have got a slew that I've added to my wardrobe. And now I'm like, I just want to wear a dress every day because it makes me feel like a woman. I feel feminine. I feel pretty. And it makes you act differently.
It's true. And Jamie will probably tell you, that's one of the things I'm known for is I wear a lot of dresses. And I love that look. And I know what you mean. It's a graceful, beautiful feeling. And beauty comes from the inside out. And so we've just discussed how the Lord did that from the inside. And now we present that on the outside because it's a reflection of what has been done on the inside. And so so that leads to why I don't like pageants. Ready? So I did that first Miss Greater Utica pageant, didn't win, didn't even place. I was one of the very few girls that didn't even place, but I was nervous and I was awkward and I was still the hearing impaired kid, So it was I had the big 80s hair. And that made me feel, so with Charm School, and that woman was in charge of this pageant, but with Charm School, there was fashion shows. I loved fashion shows. You got to model different little things and dresses and whatever. We did maternity shows, we did bridal shows. It was fun. That I loved. Nice, pretty outfits and things. And then with that comes the Charm School, or comes the pageantry. So I do the first pageant. She's the host of it. And it was actually a very bad experience. But never wanting to be defeated, I did go on and try a few more. And I won a couple of them. And they were state and local going to the state. So I won one of them that would have put me for the state of New York. And I was about to, I did compete in the state of New York. I placed second runner-up for the state of New York. The judge came up to me and he said, "Do you know why you didn't win?" And I said, no. And he said, "I can tell you why." He said, "Because your smile, you have a very nervous smile and a very crooked smile." And I said, "Well, you walk around in a bathing suit and high heels and see how you feel."
Yeah.
And in that moment, it dawned on me, I'm never doing this again. Not only do I not, I think it personally, for me, it's degrading. I don't want to walk around in a bathing suit and high heels. First of all, you don't wear high heels with a bathing suit. Second of all, the reason I'm doing that is to be evaluated. So on my figure, well, you can do that in shorts and a tank top, right? I mean, if you want to see if I'm physically fit, we can do that with shorts and a tank top. So I felt, because I had just came to the Lord, I had just gotten saved, I just realized that Jesus Christ is God and not me. So I had just given my life to him, and it was right at that same time. So there was a Holy Spirit conviction that this is not where beauty comes from. This is not what you need to do. And I never did another pageant after that. And I was approached by an sponsor who wanted to groom me for Miss America. He's like, "I think you have what it takes. Personality, you sing, disability, overcomer. I will pay, I will sponsor, I will get the dresses." He said, "You will have to go to this gym, you will have to go and get this tan, you will have to get your hair cut here." And I was like, never, no way. And he was willing to pay for the whole thing. And I get like, in the same way that I cried telling my testimony, I get like hives telling this part, because it goes against everything in my spirit. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of people who do pageants and watch Miss America and all of that. You know what? I love the idea that it empowers women. I love the idea that it's scholarship. I love the idea that it's talent. I don't love the bathing suit. Never will. I know there's a movement to get rid of it. I hope they do. Yeah. I think if they didn't have that and maybe they had a physical fitness component, I would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you on that, because I used to be a pageant coach. I was a pageant coach, and I didn't like the whole swimsuit thing. I thought it doesn't make sense. I mean, what are we doing? Are we trying to be Barbie here? Or, and like you said, it doesn't make sense to have a swimsuit with high heels. I mean, that's not how it's supposed to be. But you know why they're doing that is they're trying to accentuate the butt and the, and it's like, really,
male judges? Male judges?
Right. Right. Should we be having you look at their butts? I mean, yeah, it's really, I didn't like, I never did a pageant. I just helped pageant girls in the physical fitness part. Like you said, I would like to see more of the physical fitness part of it. And I just saw that they struggled a lot with their identity.
Yes.
The girls that I worked with. And even though they believed in Jesus. Right. They're so hyper focused on this. And it's almost like they're, not all of them, but the ones that I've known, it's like they were just putting on this face, like an act. And it's like, you know, and this is what we're voting for is an act. I want a genuine person, you know? And so I would always pray with my girls that God would, you know, touch their hearts and that he would reveal to them things, but I was never judging them, but I would just pray for them. And they had let me, like a couple of them, I had to go in their dressing room and help them with many things, but you know, because they loved me, they were encouraged by me because of my spirit. But it like you said, it's just very fake. It is.
Well, it is because the couple that I won, I made a really nice friend there in one of these pageants, and we were really good friends, and we stayed in touch, and yada yada. Well, I won the pageant that she was in. She wouldn't even speak to me. She didn't even congratulate me after I won. And I was like, "What friend?" I'm like, "Oh my gosh!" You know, like
I know
that's not how we do this here. So the cattiness, the superficiality. You know, what I like to watch, for me, the most engaging part of pageantry, I love gowns. I love gowns.
Oh, me too. I love the dresses. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I mean, that's the most beautiful part, but the most engaging part for me, and the part that will get me every time to watch and pay attention and sit up in my chair, is when they ask the question. I like to hear what people's answers are. You know, I like when they give them this really tough question and to see how they come at it and what they say and how authentic they are about it, or, you know, genuine, or how they handle a mishap about it, especially being speech impaired, Jamie, right? With our accent. I mean, not accent, they call it an accent, but when they stammer or stumble or stutter, how do they handle that? How do they overcome that? So that's the part I enjoy watching.
Yeah. It's the overcomer spirit. And I think that, pageants are degrading. I'm far too short and do not have the right body type to even enter into anything of that nature. I'm too broad-shouldered, so God did not.
Yeah, they do have a stipulation, and that's true. Like they're very much into that whole hourglass thing, and they keep you at the gym, because trust me, they were sending them to me. They were like, "You need to go here. You need to go here," and they're very particular. So it's not very. It's attainable.
You've got to have that body type. You've got and like you said, there's this falseness, and it really is a mask. But how many people wear masks daily? And it's not just in pageantry, it's on social media, it's in everyday life. We put these masks on. But what if we were to take the masks off and reveal who we really are, and let Christ to really be, you know, everything in our lives, and allow that stuff to fall by the wayside and be true to who we truly are, because that's the biggest thing. We live in the world that we live in it's a facade. Nothing is real. And it's gotten worse, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel that it has gotten worse. The more technology we have, the more social media we have, the worse it has gotten.
Well, because we're back to consumption again. I was thinking about you. I love your points and how you tie it all together. We're back to the me again. We're back to look at me. It's all look at me. Now, part of what I do is social media. A part of what we do is social media. But how are we using it? What are we using it for? What is the purpose? What do you hope to do with this? Glorify God. And some stuff is just fun and for entertainment. Okay. Nothing wrong with joy and happiness and all that. But that's what we need to be using it for, right? I mean, for the glory of God, whether that's happiness, peace, joy, all the fruits of the spirit are what our social media.
Yeah.
Right?
Girl.
So I'm so, because I'm working with my niece on that, my nephew, you know, the TikTok, the Instagram, and I do them all, but for God's glory, Lord, I hope and pray. But, you know, we've got all of these vehicles, and all of it makes it look at me, focus right here.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if you girls know this, but I remember learning in psychology. So my minor degree is in psychology. So maybe you understand a little bit of my positions on things like pageantry and what have you, because of the psychology. And what you talked about, I'm going to see if I say this right. Chandra, did I say it right? Okay. What you talked about, about the facade and the mindset. And so, oh no, now I just lost my train of thought thinking about your name.
That's okay.
What was I had a good point about something. Anybody remember what I was talking about?
Well, we were talking about, we make it back to look at us, and we're
Yeah.
constantly redirecting.
So in psychology, there was a study about the number one magazine. I may get the years wrong, but let's say in the 1950s was Life magazine. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1960s, the number one magazine was People magazine. Okay. 1970s, the number one magazine was Us.
Mm.
And 1990s or 80s, the number one magazine was Self. So we went from Life to
Just so.
what was next? People, Us, Self. Something like that. And I think that's what social media is doing. It's bringing it back to self.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it is, but why did Satan fall? It all is rooted in sin. It all comes back to the very beginning when he said, look at me. I want everybody to worship me. And what is the biggest problem that we have? It is the sin nature that every single person is born with. And that sin nature is to do what? Look at me, because that is who he is. And that's his nature. And we're born with that nature until we come to Christ and we find the freedom in him and we become a new creation. And then we have to die to self, because that's what Paul talks about daily. So
back to self again.
yes.
Do any of y'all remember the first time you did a selfie?
Yeah.
Do you remember? Like, I remember that moment.
And I felt so weird about it.
So weird. I felt so weird. Somebody was like, I guess the boyfriend at the time back then was like, send me a selfie. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, selfie? And like, it was so awkward for me. But now it's like, we've become so desensitized to it. Like, I don't even think anything of it now, but I remember that first time though, and I just felt this uneasy feeling. It was really uneasy.
I feel awkward though at times. There are many times I feel awkward, whether it's taking a selfie or doing a video and talking to this camera, and it's like I feel so weird. There's nobody. I sometimes think my husband thinks I'm nuts because I will record things, and he must think, who is she talking to in there?
Yeah.
But it was actually Paris Hilton. She is the first selfie. It was Paris Hilton. And the crazy thing is, I watched a documentary thing about her, and actually I think it's reality TV. And I was watching this because I was curious to understand her as an individual. And I think, human nature, understanding people is very interesting. And she's been through a lot in her life. There was a lot of abuse and a lot of different things that happened to her, going to these, getting picked up in the middle of the night and going to one of these like camp type things where we're going to teach you the hard way and you're going to learn to behave. But there is an entire museum to Paris Hilton for what she established within social media. She established social media. She established the selfie, and she is still doing it, and everything she does is posed. It's all staged. It's all set up. And now she's gone to, and I will give her this because this is something that I admire about her. She went to Washington, D.C., and she's fighting for the kids that are being sent to these camps, to these schools that have been abused, to shut them down. And so she's a very intelligent woman. That's the other thing about her. I'm like, you are one smart woman. You just need Jesus. And man, what you could do,
Right.
Yeah. So what are we using our platform for?
That's right. That's a big thing. And I think as I look at these kids today and my niece and nephew, I would love, I don't know how it's going to be possible, but I don't know that you can even legislate this, but the bullying platforms, the people trying to remove. This is going to get into so many weeds, but I struggle with, because I believe in censoring some of this stuff, because or at least, how about we use the word limiting? People don't like the word censoring, but what about limiting exposure? How can we limit exposure for these children? And of course, it falls on the parent and the educators. But how many jobs do they have in addition to trying to control the World Wide Web? I mean, you're not going to take this on single-handedly as a parent. I mean, you can put controls and you can do things, but then they go to school and then they go here. I have been thinking a lot about how can we shelter, how can we limit. I wish perhaps maybe an age limit. How about we can't get on Instagram until we're 18? How about, or 16? How about that? Maybe that's a great place to start right there. Age limit.
Yeah. And it's so interesting you say that, because last night I was having a conversation with someone at church, and she said, my grandsons cannot sit still because, and she said, and I don't like them being on YouTube because it's all shorts. They're 2 minutes long. And I said, yeah, well, you go to Instagram, and it's 90 seconds. That's the real, you're not going to get anything more than 90 seconds. And she said, it's causing them to have no attention span. She said, so we found a school in our county. It's called a classically trained school. And I said, what is that? And she said, well, it's not what you think classically like as in music. She said, there are no computers at this school. There are no phones. They will learn out of a book, just like we did. Now, I mean, yeah, we had a computer in our library, but I think we used it to play the Oregon Trail. But,
Oregon Trail
banners, that was about it. So we're talking a DOS system that was green, we didn't even have colored screens back then. But at the end of the day, they're getting back to the nitty gritty of education and removing that. So it teaches them classically how we were taught within a book, and not using a computer, not using a tablet. That's
because the shorts, literally what they're called, it's short circuiting our brain. Here comes that psychology again.
Come on. Yeah.
Come on, girl, give it to us.
Can't make me
teach us.
Communication establishes connection and synapses. So healthy connection, physical connection, but also synapses in our brain. So when your brain is synapsing every so many seconds like that, it's short circuiting the brain. There's no long, lengthy, healthy connection. And so that's why children don't have focus. They can't answer questions. They're fragmented when they speak. So with my niece and nephew, when I'm with them, I set a time limit. I set and I know my brother is actually very fantastic about that. He's one of the few I've seen that is adamant about a time limit. There's certain platforms he does not allow, and almost all the platforms they're not allowed to be on. So I love that. And then, of course, enforcing that, we do that as well. My mom and I, grandma and aunt, we enforce that. But I think that, that's what I'm noticing. And even in myself, right? When we watch YouTube for a while or go scroll through, we're like, I'm sorry, what did you say? And it's not just old age or COVID brain or COVID fog. It's just that our brain is doing this all day long.
That's right.
When you said this was an hour podcast, I was shocked. I mean, most podcasts are like, now, they used to be this way, but maybe they went to a half an hour, then maybe 10 minutes, then maybe, hey, 5 minutes, we just want to get a snippet for a reel. So I was like, wow, we're actually going to talk. We're going to have a discussion.
That's right.
And it's funny because like Carrie, Jamie, Carrie, she actually, we were having a conversation last night, and she said to me, she was like, I find that I'm struggling because sometimes like some of the stuff I watch on YouTube is too long, and that's not healthy. And I was like, yeah. And I said, so, what do you do? And we were talking about the length of the podcast. She goes, but you guys have these conversations that are so interesting. I wish I was a part of. And so I keep listening. And I was like, okay, well, thank you, Lord. We're not boring people, but I have found that. And like you said, I start short circuiting, and I'm like, and so what I tend to do is I just walk away. I'll be like, nope, you know what? I need to read. Reading is good for us. Reading our Bibles,
Yes.
I'm all about don't get me wrong. Having the Bible on your phone is very convenient. That's great. but I love touching the word of God, that tangible copy. Yes.
Mhm.
And it's like, and when it looks like that Bible does, you know that it is well loved.
Yes.
I've been taped so many times. It is.
Yes, lady. That's
This is,
Mhm.
well, I have many. This whole shelf behind me is many, but this is the one that goes with me to all my concerts, because when I came to the Lord and knew Him in a personal way and got saved from myself, this is the Bible that was given to me with an inscription and all from my cousin.
that's
And
awesome.
1988, June 22nd, 1988 is inscribed in there.
Come
So this
on.
goes with me to all my
Yes.
concerts.
So you've just had an anniversary, June 2nd, 1988.
I did.
Congratulations. Happy birthday.
Yes. I know. We say happy birthday. Yeah. That's your birthday right there.
Wow.
I talked about being saved from myself. I heard a pastor say one time, all these self-help books, talking about books. Well, I heard a pastor say, we can't help ourselves. We helped ourselves get in the mess that we're in. That's how we helped ourselves. We got ourselves in this mess. We need help. I lift up my eyes to the hills from where my help comes from. We need help from something greater than us, from the Lord.
That's right.
And that's what I found out. I mean, that's been my life experience.
So
Mhm.
good.
Mine too.
Well, Sherry, we don't want to, we know you're a busy lady. You got lots going on. We don't want to keep you too much longer, but do you have some final words just to kind of sew this up beautifully for our listeners, to let them know, how they can find freedom, how they can find freedom from pride, from themselves, all of that stuff, just summing up where God has led you and how He has brought you to this place?
I was looking at some verses this morning about always be ready and willing to give an answer for where your hope comes from. And I just talked about where my help comes from. My help comes from the Lord. You can't help yourself. You do get yourself in the mess that you're in, but the Lord is the deliverer. He's the redeemer. He's the savior. He's the Lord of all. And I think knowing your limitation and having expectations for who He is and what He can do through you, if you yield, humble yourself before the Lord, the Bible says, and He will lift you up and give you a purpose, give you a hope, give you a future, not to harm you, but to prosper you for His kingdom, for His purpose, for His glory. And always have a reason for the hope that's in you. And the hope is in me because Jesus gave me life, not just everyday life, but abundant life. The Bible says it's the thief who comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus comes to give you life and life more abundantly. Abundant in what? Material things? No, they don't satisfy. Degrees, that doesn't satisfy. Peace, more abundant love, more abundant hope, more abundant joy, more abundant goodness, kindness, patience, long-suffering, self-control. Abundant in His Spirit and the ways of His being, His Spirit, so that you can show others who He is by who He's made you to be. So surrender yourself to Him so that He can have His way with you and lead you to the everlasting way, because all other ways are perishing. And there's countless stories and testimonies of people who will tell you that. But there's only one way that leads to life and life everlasting. Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man come to the Father except for through me. And I pray that if you're, spinning your wheels and tried everything that there is to try, lift up your head to the Lord Jesus Christ. Ask Him to come into your heart. Ask Him to admit that you're a sinner, that you've failed in some ways, that you're not perfect, that you're not God. Acknowledge that He is. He is God. He is Lord. And ask Him to clean your heart and mold it and shape it into who He wants you to be, so that you can have that abundant life.
Oh, so good. There is nothing else I can add to this. It has been an absolute blessing, Sherry. You are a treasure from the Lord, definitely.
Thank you, ladies. It's been a joy for me, really, honestly, to have a good, wholesome conversation. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Love you, girl.
Yeah, we love you. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Have a wonderful day.